Gentlemen, we're here. How are you?
We're
Hello.
back.
Yay! It's
Been
been,
a couple
is
weeks.
it been 2 weeks
Been a
since we last
while.
recorded?
2 weeks, yeah. With Will.
Hockey is it's been a bit, we're getting closer to the start of the regular season. Well, no, so we're close to training camp, a few weeks away. I don't know the official date of when camps start up, but we're in September. We're about a month, just shy of a month from the season starting. Are you guys
That's
starting to get
true.
that hockey itch?
Almost there.
Almost?
Kind of.
It's hard to get the hockey itch back when it's the middle of August and every other day John Tavares is trending on Twitter.
Yeah, that was rough. That was a
It's just
rough
like what are we doing here?
Mhm. It was also August is also rough because that's when the summer break happens for F1, and it's like I don't know what to do with my life.
Exactly.
And you're sort of like, I'm not gonna make a Halo Infinite joke, but whatever. You couldn't even get mad about EA for a while because they were so quiet with the NHL 23 game. We're gonna talk about that later because now we have details and they kind of suck. Anyway, I think we're still a little while away from going back to 2 episodes a week. I think I would assume news will probably pick up and we'll go back to one a week. And then obviously by the time the season starts, probably preseason time, we'll be back at two a week. We don't know our schedule yet, how it's going to go, because life is just different sometimes. And the way our lives are every September, it just gets a little wild.
We have the big boy pants on
Life
this
is
time.
Exactly.
life is a bit in turmoil.
Life is like a box of chocolates or like a Ferrari strategy. You never know what you're going to get.
Oh.
Oh,
go.
how do you not have a fourth tire ready for your pit stop? But anyway.
Oh,
I think
I have
we
a
talk-
sorry, I have a crazy story. I just remembered it.
Okay.
Shout out to Laura, who was on the show talking about F1 here.
Mm-hmm.
We saw each other at the Blue Jays game, but I didn't know it was her because I was in a rush to buy hot dogs and she was beside me in the line. And I don't think she noticed me either, like at first, because I had a mask on. So hope she's
Oh.
well and hope she's enjoying the F1 season.
Was it when the hot dogs were $2?
It was the Looney Dogs.
Looney dogs, not Toonie
Yes,
dogs.
I was there
Looney
on
dogs.
Tuesday.
Are the Jays good again?
They are good.
Okay, that's good. They're going to make playoffs?
They make the playoffs. And I was gonna say that, Adam. Like I know you already adopted basketball and F1, but there is a future for you in baseball if you embrace it.
Listen, I'm still... See, here's the thing. I've been to one Blue Jays game in my life, and
Mhm.
the thing is they were bad.
Yeah.
And it was a game maybe against Cleveland. I think they lost 3-2. And I just couldn't watch. I don't know what it is. It takes a bit for me to get into baseball, but we'll see.
Hey,
What would get
Daniel,
into you?
Daniel,
Like the
sorry.
return of the Expos? No.
Yeah, probably.
Return of the
Okay,
Expos.
okay.
Yeah.
Daniel, is it going to be another first round exit? Badoom.
No, I believe.
Sorry.
I believe.
I
No,
had to
they're gonna
go
get
there.
shafted by Aaron Judge on the last day of the
I
season.
had to go there.
What was it like Tampa? They didn't walk Aaron Judge and they threw it and he hit a dinger and that like
Yeah.
sealed their fate last year. I watched that game. I was watching towards the end of last season to see if the Jays were gonna make it. I guess it was fun, but it's just F1 getting into basketball, hockey's a thing, and there's besides sports like the Bleach anime is coming back next month. That's a
Yeah, I was
big
gonna
part of
say.
my life. New Pokemon games coming out in November. That's gonna dominate my life for like a year.
New
Priority.
Halloween movie.
Yeah, that new Halloween movie next spring. We should get the new Breath of the Wild game, and when Zelda comes out, that's something else. And work. It really sucks when you
exactly.
start growing up and you're like, crap. Where's our free
Life.
time? Let's talk about hockey now. Let's talk about hockey. The people don't want to listen to that. The people don't want to listen to that. If you're young and you listen to this, man, enjoy it. Okay. News of the week, I guess you can kind of say. JT Miller re-signs in Vancouver like we all thought. No, we didn't. It's a 7-year deal. It's worth $56 million. That AAV, if you had to do the math on a calculator like I did, is $8 million. Before we talk about some of the implications for other players in the Canucks, mainly I want to ask you guys what you think it's going to mean for Bo Horvat. Reaction to the deal. Do you like the number? Do you like it for the player? Because I don't.
You don't like it for...
I don't like the deal for the Canucks. I'm thrilled for JT Miller. Love it.
Mhm.
I don't like it for the Canucks at all.
That's interesting. To me, I always thought JT Miller, you were gonna extend JT Miller. I don't think the Canucks actually think they're gonna properly do the rebuild because of the situation they're in. Considering Besser, Pedersen, Hughes, just the age they're at, for them to go through a complete rebuild, I don't think was ever going to happen. I think it's different than Montreal because I think you look at the young guys on that team, so many of them aren't even in the NHL yet. And the two guys you look at in Caulfield and Suzuki are already so young. They're barely, Suzuki's just finished his entry-level contract. Caulfield's just getting into his second or third year. I don't remember how the rules work.
Second, his ELC is up next summer.
Okay. So to me, trading for JT Miller and then not keeping him after that, to me, was never going to make sense to me. I wouldn't have crapped on the Canucks for trading him, but I think considering the team that you already have, I think you should be more critical of the Ilya Mikheyev signing than you should be, not you in particular, I just mean in general, of the Ilya Mikheyev signing than a JT Miller extension.
To be fair, I didn't like the Mikheyev signing.
No, I know. That's why it was. Yeah, I know. That's why I wanted.
We're going to talk about those type of deals later because the Stars have proved me right. But Daniel, what about you?
For me, I agree with Alex that if a guy and a talent like JT Miller is willing to stay, you give him the contract he wants. But my initial thought, and maybe this was just old reports, old speculation, that he didn't want to stay. That there was the idea that maybe it was time for him to go, and that was a good contract the Canucks initially got from Tampa to show off his talent, that, you know, he really became the player he was supposed to be in Vancouver. And then maybe I was just hearing too much from Mike that, there's a Rangers reunion as a possibility there. I never really took it as the most truthful thing, but I just really thought that JT Miller himself didn't want to be long term, but prove me wrong. And I think where the Canucks are, they have to make this type of signing, that they have to show that they're willing to win. It's the same thing as, not as to the extent of the national things. I think Vancouver will still be loved even if they lose, but for the way they've been able to draft, the way they've been able to retain the guys that they see as the future pillars, they have to keep adding.
Maybe it's because, like, I'm not saying JT Miller. No, I am going to say this. I just don't think he's worth $8 million. And I acknowledge that he had, I think it was 99 points last year. And obviously, since he's been the Canuck, he's been outstanding, right? I acknowledge that. I just don't buy it with him. I don't know what it is. I just don't. I think he's a top 6 player. I think he's a fantastic player. I'd love to have JT Miller on my team. I just don't. The thing of that they wanted to shed money, and then they add, like, I'm not giving a player. I just don't like JT Miller. I think maybe that's just me, but then I say I like him. It's just a confusing deal to me for Vancouver, because does this basically mean that Bo Horvat's gone?
Not necessarily.
Does he have to stay? Okay, let me raise it like this: can he stay right now without them moving Connor Garland or Brock Besser? Well, they can't fit the room otherwise.
Sure. No, 100%. And I agree on that. It just seems like both parties, like from the interpretation that the media has talked about the relationship of Connor Garland and the Vancouver Canucks, to me, that's the guy who's gone. Right? Like, I just can't see him. I'm surprised he's still a Vancouver Canuck at the moment, to be honest.
Jason Dickinson too, apparently they've not liked.
So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point this year or by the end of the year that Connor Garland is not a Vancouver Canuck anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if by the trade deadline he's not. That screams to me, and like, I guess we're going to have to see how his season goes, but similar to how Montreal traded Tyler Toffoli, with a guy who has this year and 3 more years left. Maybe Toffoli had 2 at the time. Just off the top of my head, I don't remember. But again, it's a similar situation, and that very much frees up cap space for next year. That's almost $5 million. That's $5 million extra dollars, and Bo Horvat's not going to take up all that $5 million. I don't think he's a $10 million center. I think he comes if they do extend him, he's coming in around JT Miller's number. Like, I don't know how much better Bo Horvat is than JT Miller. Yeah.
I thought Daniel was going to say something, but he sneezed instead.
Oh yeah, I was. Sorry, just sneezing as well while I'm trying to say something. Yeah, I'm looking through Cap Friendly right now, and I'm just looking at the contracts Vancouver has and what they can do. I don't know. Do you reignite the Tyler Myers cap dump rumor right there, or figure out? I mean, he's on long term. No, wait, not long term. Injured reserve.
Oh.
Tucker Pullman, because he's 2.5 for 3 more years. So
that was a deal right away that everyone was like, "That's not
yeah."
good.
So there's $8.5 million right there. They can figure out, do something there. There's a lot of like. Great. I think these guys are great depth players, but for the money they're really getting, like, I don't like the Tanner Pearson, Jason Dickinson cap hit.
Well, I mean,
there's 2 more years on those.
There's the thing is you never overpay the middle of your lineup.
The thing too, I think we should talk about here. Sorry, is I don't know if you heard I haven't listened to the full interview. I just saw the clip so far of Bill Daly on 32 Thoughts suggesting that, you know, I think it was next year we could see a bump in the salary cap that's more than $1 million, but at least in 2 years we see that big bump. So if we do get that early bump, that also helps the Vancouver Canucks and about 20 other teams in the NHL, because we don't need to have that debate again. Like we talk about it every other episode because it's just an absolute nightmare. But I think that helps the Vancouver Canucks a lot in terms of extending if they want to extend Bo Horvat, and then replenish the rest of their roster. Because I think that's been an issue with the team, is the depth. And yeah, they went to go get Ilya Mikheyev, but I don't really think that's gonna fix their depth scoring fully. Like, he'll help, but I don't think he's gonna fix it.
He's making $200,000 less than Connor Garland. It's crazy.
I also want to point out, by the way, JT Miller will be 30 when this contract kicks in. I will point out, by the way, which is also very nervous for me. He's been a pretty healthy player. I'm looking at his career.
Okay, can I ask you? Can I ask you a question though?
Sure.
Okay, so, and I'm just comparing these two guys. You take it how you will. I'm not. Yep. I'm trying to pit two players together, but you have JT Miller, who's his contract's going to start when he's 30. It's going to be an 8-year deal, $8 million, and you have Nazem Kadri, 31, 7-year deal, $7 million. Both these contracts taking them to 38 years old. Do you think the risk is also there for like Calgary? Like, the risk is obviously always there for Calgary, but is it like, do you not think that Vancouver needed to keep JT Miller and it was better for them to trade him? Because if they let him walk for free, that's brutal. That's a failure. Like, no matter what way you look at it.
I'd like to know what the packages they were getting from certain teams were.
Okay.
Like what the heck was at the draft with the Islanders that the Canucks were talking about that Friedman had mentioned? Obviously, like we had Will on, we looked at we brought up that Harmon Dial tweet that talked about the ages of the Flames. Mm-hmm. You know, it's win now for Calgary. And you sort of mentioned, to your point, those big guys for the Canucks are in right now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So they kind of had to go for that sort of window. Again, maybe it's just, I just don't believe JT Miller is that caliber of player. Maybe it's a personal thing I can't look over. I get why they did it. But it's just, they couldn't let him go, especially it's kind of, it just reminds me a little bit of the Line stuff, except Winnipeg traded him and instead of kept, and the Canucks kept JT Miller. It was just such a back and forth. Like, how does that affect your fan base? And I mean, hey, maybe they like what they see with JT Miller, especially under Bruce Boudreau. And I mean, you look at how, like, we remember how crap the Canucks were to start the year, and JT Miller was sort of that lone bright spot. Maybe he's good for the room in that. Again, like, we know that he's the type of guy you win with, like his play style. Maybe I just don't like $8 million next to that player, compared to as much as I like the player itself.
Right.
That kind of, if I'm making sense here.
Yes.
But again, yeah, it's the same thing with the Sergachev deal. Younger defenseman, but still, it's like if the cap goes up, it helps. It's just right now, I'm like, I just don't like it. Maybe it's also because I have a scornful disdain for the Vancouver Canucks at points. So.
And Mikhail Sergachev.
And Mikhail Sergachev,
Yes.
yeah. And
Is it
Tampa in
because-
general. Former Tampa Bay Lightning, JT Miller.
I like to
And
ask
former
Adam.
Ranger.
I'd actually like to ask that, Adam. Is it because, and I actually saw this a lot too with John Carlson later in his career, but
Oh, it's going to be bad.
no, not bad, but is it like he was always kind of like a solid player, but not the player he was? And then when he goes to Vancouver, it's like things just kind of went off, and then they gave him the big contract.
Maybe it's a thing of chance because obviously New York days, he would have been a younger player.
Yeah.
And then I would have to ask Mike exactly what his role was. But then obviously you go to Tampa. You're not Stamkos, you're not Kucherov, you're never going to. I don't know quite at that point if Braden Point had emerged as much. And then once you go to Vancouver, he was sort of given the, all right, you're the guy sort of treatment. Because especially we remember the past couple of years, Pedersen always sort of had those rough starts, and he's been questioned a lot. Is he truly elite the past year? And Miller just sort of takes it up. So maybe he's great with that time, and we just didn't see that opportunity with him in the past, maybe. And now that he has it, he's playing well enough, but maybe.
Remember, when he left Tampa, the reason they traded him was he was a cap dump.
Exactly.
Now, he was a really, really good cap dump, and everyone was like, why on earth would Vancouver trade an unprotected first-round pick for him? They did it anyways because I don't really understand. They had all the leverage on Tampa, but that's fine. Clearly, no one wants to deal with Steve Yzerman or Julian Breezebot. Like, we've just clearly, like, that's been a thing for the last 2 or 3 years. So yeah, that too.
All right. Okay, that about covers it for JT Miller. If we can keep staying on the side of cap numbers, by the way, we can talk about the Dallas Stars, can't we?
Yeah, let's
First
do it.
and foremost, before we get to me gonna brag for a second here, they do re-sign one of their 2 big RFAs. It's Jake Ottinger. It's a 3-year deal, $4 million is the AAV. I believe he is an RFA at the end of the deal.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that's probably going to take him a year away from it. So even if we ignore the playoffs and we look at his regular season numbers compared to other goalie contracts, even younger guys like Cal Peterson and that, it's a good deal for Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of it, if he continues to play well, it's like they're going to get screwed and have to give him all the money in the world, or he'll probably sign a QO or arbitration, and he'll walk and get maybe $10 million. But I think this is some tidy business for the Dallas Stars, who are kind of win now. You can never really quite tell with Dallas what they think
They're
they
kind of
are.
like, do your best now.
Just sort of like, we'll miss or we'll make the playoffs and win a round. It's the Stars. But like, hey, it's a classic bridge deal.
Yeah.
But $12 million isn't bad for a kid.
That's not bad at all. But I'm really interested to know how they proved you right. I've been thinking about it ever since you said it.
Okay. Well, Alex, let me just quickly get something up here.
Okay.
So I'm sure everyone saw this. That Mr. Tom, I say it? Gaglardi?
Sure.
The owner of the Dallas Stars recently was doing an interview. I can't remember who the interview was, so my apologies. You can find it online. And sort of referenced sort of goal scorers, I'm paraphrasing here, taking up too much of the pie, saying the middle guys got squeezed with contracts, saying a kid scores 40 goals and wants $7 million. It's really funny. They have an RFA goal scorer who just hit 40, and Jason Robertson, who is currently up and needs a new contract. Isn't that really funny? And I just want to quickly say something here. what was I saying at free agency, and what did I reference of Ilya Mikheyev that I didn't quite like? And listen, obviously, this is probably an owner, and this isn't the first time we see members of Dallas Stars ownership go to the media and call out their players. However, let's just look at this. Mason Marchment, a fine player. Is he a superstar? No. How much did he get in free agency? $4.5 million. Okay, fine. That's all right. Esa Lindell, not one of the best D on that team. He's fine. $5.8 million. Who remembers Ryan Suter getting that contract? 37, $3.6 million, 3 years remaining on that deal. Ilya Mikheyev gets his deal. Let's quickly go to New Jersey, a guy who's never been the superstar, a perfectly fine player, massive in the playoffs. Who am I talking about?
Andre
yes,
Palat.
as I quickly find his contract. Where is it? I can't find. Andre Palat, 31 years old, gets a 5-year deal, $6 million. The Stars, I get it. We saw it with Klingberg. They didn't want to give him the big term because they've given it to guys like Ben. His production's fallen off a cliff. Tyler Seguin, injuries have sort of bounced him. The Stars right now don't have the money because they've, besides the flat cap, have given out some just deals that are just like, what are you thinking here? Remember when they gave Kadubin that deal after the playoffs? Yeah. Immediately he turned to dust because he was like 34. Like, what are you thinking? I'm just saying, first off, Mr. Stars ownership, with all due respect, no one is going to a Dallas Stars game to watch Radek Faksa. They see Mira Heiskanen. They want to see Jay Gottinger now. Let's talk about it like this. Who is going to a Leafs game, right? Okay, stick with me here, because they want to watch Martin Marincin play back in the day. No, they're for Austin Matthews. When I go to
Martin Marincin might be the exception.
I don't know.
Martin Marincin might be the exception. Like to go to.
I love the Habs. I don't go to a Habs game thinking I can't wait to watch Joel Armia tonight.
Wait a minute. So you're not going to go Gianni Fairbrother's debut?
He might be the exception there, though.
Okay,
that might be the actual exception.
It's just piece of the pie.
But
man, the reason that, well, I was going to say, I don't think the Stars make a lot of money, but the money you do make, the jerseys you sell, aren't for Radek Faksa. They're for Jason Robertson. They're the only reason I would watch the Dallas Stars. Shut up and pay up. You don't have any money because you misallocated it.
The best thing about the owner speaking out is that it hasn't worked any time.
No.
It's not like the team performed better when he called out Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn. They were the same team that everyone thought they were, which was, what year did he call them out? Does anyone remember?
Hold on, I can look it up because
the thing with Dallas is, and it was the same with Montreal for a few years in the last few years under Marc Bergevin, was okay, they might not be a great regular season team, but if they make the playoffs, they could do some damage. And that's what the Dallas Stars were. And that's what the Dallas Stars were when their owner called them out. Nothing changed. He's done this. He not call out?
First off, the guys so it wasn't the owner, it was their CEO, alternate governor, who is Jim Lights.
Okay.
Who did it, who called them horse
the name.
And that was, I'm seeing a Reddit thing on r/Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
The end of December 2018. But continue. So
what happened in 2019? What happened in 2019? Nothing. Like,
we can double check,
because I know in 2019, 2020 they made it to the final in the bubble. Okay, cool. Yes, they did that. 100% I agree. But again, that Dallas Stars team wasn't any better because their ownership kept calling them out. That's the only point I want to make. I find it hysterical that is. And then my favorite part is when the agents negotiate through the media, which happen all the time, which I also hate. Liz, if you're negotiating through the media, you automatically lose me. Done. Automatically lose me. It's a bad thing, but whatever. The Dallas Stars are weird.
They are. I don't know. Just like they have this young talent that, if I may, they got really, really lucky with both Robertson and Ottinger, where they were drafted. And one thing is, like, I like to credit how they actually developed Jake Ottinger. Like, they brought him up gradually, but they just didn't bury him in the minors for so long. And I think that's just something you should do if you take a goalie in the first round. But anyways, I know what you mean, where they have these guys that you should be marketing, you should be building upon, but that like it doesn't make sense if I say Dallas is just Dallas when it comes to the way the team is structured. Because it's so confusing for me how they are structured.
Joe Pavelski, by the way, $5.5 million. Good, was probably maybe their best forward last year, but still, he's 38. Like that's the point of where the stars are. Remember, was that like series against Calgary? It was the Pavelski, Robertson. I can't remember who the third player was. Hintz were the only guys scoring in that series.
Yeah,
you know, it's like goal scorers taking up too much of the pie. Yeah, because you win when you score more goals, you idiot. It's like, you know what, man? I don't know about this, but Tom Brady's, he's throwing too many touchdowns. He's taking up too much money. He's maybe not a great example because obviously he doesn't take as much, but I don't know enough about football to be like, this man took too much money. Who did the Broncos just resign?
Russell Wilson.
Russ, yeah, that guy. Too much money.
Steph Curry settled down on the 3-pointers.
You know what?
Curry
shouldn't make more money because he's revolutionizing the game by how much he's scoring right now. The young players love Jason. Shut up. Too much. The middle guys are getting squeezed. I don't care about the middle guys.
You know who needs more money?
You're a piece of the puzzle, but come on.
You know who needs more money, Daniel?
Who does?
Billionaires.
Tim Birch. I saw a TikTok on him earlier today. I
Who?
have to bring him up. Raptors
legend.
Oh, okay. I was about to say.
Well, he's still on the team, so he's not a legend yet.
Who is this man? But yeah, the Dallas Stars, they kind of suck. Another big centerman has signed. This time it's with the Buffalo Sabres.
It's boy.
Tage Thompson. It's 7 years. It's 7.1 and some spare change afterwards for the AAV. $50 million total. Tage Thompson, who in 2020-2021, 8 goals in 38 games, 14 points. Last year shoots up 38 goals, 68 points in 78 games played. He is a big centerman. They make a lot of money. We'll just centerman in general. Look at Norris and Suzuki. But this is a guy who, if you look at Jay Fresh, has sort of mentioned that he went from one of the unluckiest shooters in the league to one of the luckiest. Again, good for the player. It is a big risk for the Sabres to take, though, because the last time they had a guy show up, had a career year, gave a lot of money and re-signed to, Jeff Skinner is still wasting away there. Or everyone they brought in a free agent, gave him a lot of money. No, I'm not going to make fun of Kyle Luckpo, so I don't want to do that. But Tage Thompson. I mean, hey, if it works out, it looks good. Like the Ryan O'Reilly trade just sort of looks a little better for them, obviously, because the Conn Smythe and the Cup thing kind of helps for O'Reilly. But it is a big risk for them to take. I mean, you bet on young players, but man.
No, that's an interesting contract. Just because that's a lot of money. Like, this is different than Jason Robertson. Like, funny enough, how we were talking about Jason Robertson, because I think if you actually look at what Jason Robertson did in his 2 seasons in the NHL, first full season, he had 45 points, 17 goals in 51 games in 2020-21. And then this year he had 79 points, 41 goals in 74 games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's very different than Tage Thompson, who I'm just pulling up now. I just don't remember his stats off the top of my head. Where, he had a really good first this year. He had 38 goals, 68 points. But I think he's struggled the last 3 years in Buffalo, or last 2 years, because I think 1920 he was in Rochester and he was injured. So that's the exception.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, there's a lot of premiums, I'll say, for this contract. I think that there is a bit of that Buffalo tax, in my opinion, and then there's a bit of, we're on this upswing right now. I've mentioned it before with a player like Dylan Cousins, with Alex Tuck, that they know that the team is not where they should be right now, but it's like there's a different culture in Buffalo now, that there's players that, relatively speaking, like to be there. And I think Tage Thompson is one of those poster boys for it, where he's been there a while. He didn't really become the player they thought they were getting when they first traded for him with Ryan O'Reilly. And now to get like that big center and a guy that I think they're going to bet on his potential, you get him for this contract. So I don't know. Is it similar to the Jeff Skinner one? I'm not sure yet.
I think
we'll see how next year goes.
A bit unfair, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see how next year goes.
I think the thing with Tage Thompson is the way this contract's going to look, again, because it starts next year. It doesn't start this year. It starts next year. So he has one more season where he's somewhat comparable to what he was this year. Even if he doesn't pot 40 goals, he pots 30 goals, puts up almost point per game numbers. That's fine. The cap goes up. Again, like the issue with these contracts, and I think what we struggled with when we were talking about Sergachev, Cernak, and who's the other guy? Cirelli is actually, the Cirelli one's going to be great no matter what. I think more so Sergachev and Cernak is you have to take into consideration how much the cap is going to jump, and we just don't know what that's going to be and when that's going to happen. And I think that's the thing here with the Thompson contract too, because like in 2 years, if the cap jumps to close to $90 million, it doesn't look as bad when it's almost taking up about 10% of the cap, and he's still producing like that. Now they also need to hit the cap floor, not this year, but I imagine in future years, depending on how things go in Buffalo for the next couple of years. So again, I hate to bring it up, but the salary cap.
I'm just upset that a goal scorer is taking all the money away because Rasmus Asplund is up next year, and I don't want him to get squeezed.
Yeah, exactly.
What's
going to happen to Anders Bjork?
It's just a shame, isn't it? It's just a shame. I can't stand it. Rasmus Asplund, who got Selkie votes, by the way, never forget. And Anders Bjork, that Taylor Hall deal. That's weird.
Can we look back on that deal now? Who won?
I mean, it's a bit of a wash. Who cares?
Yeah. Wait, which deal? The Taylor Hall
Anders
deal?
Bjork.
The Anders Bjork deal?
Well, don't forget the second. The Anders, that we're calling it, the Anders Bjork deal.
Yes.
So,
we'll find out.
Hopefully you didn't hear that. Guessing you probably did.
Okay,
no. Speaking of contracts, Nathan McKinnon. People are all of a sudden, in the 32 Thoughts podcast, we were saying that it sounds like McKinnon may be close to McDavid / highest paid player in the league, maybe if he gets past him. So what happened to taking less, McKinnon? What happened to that? Guess he won. He's like, okay.
Right. Like, never, with all due respect to Nathan McKinnon, all due respect, that couldn't have been more of a PR move.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like, I think we all kind of thought that time. If he's coming in at more than McDavid. Like, he's got to. Right?
It's at least like 11, right?
Oh,
do they let
minimum.
it get out that he wants around it? Then he hits a. Remember when it was like McDavid wanted, he took $500,000 less, they said? What if it's like they let it get out that it's close to 13 and then they drop to 12 and it's like, he took less.
I'm sorry, we're not going to let that stand on this podcast. I will not let that stand 100%. If that comes out.
Leafs fans got that for so long. Like I would be okay.
That's why
I'm not going to let that stand.
That's why this is a really confusing conversation. That there's no conclusion to it. That I have to quote Michael Scott on this. All right, if that's okay with you guys.
Go ahead.
All right. So regarding all the contracts about who the best center is, I just really think that don't ever, for any reason, do anything to anyone for any reason ever, no matter what, no matter where, or who you are with, or where you are going, or where you've been, ever, for whatever reason.
How long have you had that quote written down?
I just thought of it where it's like, we're going to have this conversation again. Where's this debate going to go? What is everyone going to think?
It's going to go probably nowhere. Like, what's he going to get? Like, so here's the thing. And I want to propose this to you specifically, Adam.
Okay.
Who is the best player on the Colorado Avalanche?
It's now Cale Makar.
Oh. Okay.
No, it is. I don't think there's
okay.
But you would have your Habs bias there.
No, I think it's pretty clear that Makar.
That
is not a knock on Nathan McKinnon.
No, it's not. No, it's not a knock on Nathan.
Or Tori Lehkonen.
He's the Cherry Leck. I mean, he's up there. He's the best Finn on the team. Suck it, Nico Rantanen. Just kidding. But no, he's Makar's number one, and I think it's pretty safe to say McKinnon's number two.
And that's not a bad thing.
No. No one's saying
that
it's a
talent.
bad thing. I'm just curious to know, because I know before the playoffs, I don't know if, like, based on the conversations that we have, I don't know if that was the case. I think it was the playoffs that shot Cale Makar to number one. I think heading into the playoffs, Nathan McKinnon was still number one, at least in my books. I'm just curious to see what happens next. Like, again, because Cale Makar is making $9 million, and that's obviously a massive underpayment. And I think he signed that a year early, or no?
No, I think he's actually.
No, he signed that in the summer.
He signed it last year, didn't he?
He signed that in the summer of 2021.
God, imagine.
Could have gone so much more.
Wait, so did that deal? Hold on. I'm checking something for my own sake. Oh, so he was on the last year of his ELC last season. Wait, no.
No, 21.
Okay, never mind.
He signed it while he was a restricted free agent.
So if he had signed a 1-year prove it deal, what does he get?
Oh my God.
Does he get winning the Norris Conn Smythe Cup? You know what I think helped, by the way, is remember there's that very now famous clip of him matching McDavid's speed and sort of showing his defensive chops.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone sort of, the advanced numbers show that Makar is a good defender. But I think a lot of people just had the thing of, oh, he's just all points. But then I think once the eye test showed that, as well as the numbers sort of backed up his all-around play, people were like, all right, it's just, it showed that. But yeah, he's easily like 5 more years.
Yeah, literally.
How did Kent Hughes get Darnell Nurse more than how? I don't care about UFA years. How?
Literally.
Desperation makes more. Cale Makar only makes $1 million more than JT Miller.
No, it's definitely
different position, but still.
No, like, definitely an underpayment by
come on.
Every standard. I don't know. I do think, like, I even though he's not the best player on on their team, he's second. I understand. Just looking at the contract the other player has, I still think he makes at least $12 million.
Mm-hmm.
At least.
Well, I mean, it's like, oh, hey there, sorry, Yager, but Lemieux.
And like, and I still think that could be an underpayment. $12 million might be an underpayment.
Yeah, probably. Especially, I mean, maybe it's that, I'm thinking 11, but you add another $1 million on because he's obviously, as well as he's the team's personal trainer, the nutritionist, obviously, Chippy and whatnot. So
that guy's a beast.
Nathan McKinnon wears many hats on that team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe, it's just, he's going to make a lot of money, though. He's going to make a lot of money. It's going to be, I mean, he's earned it. He's earned it. It just, that Forbes article, you didn't take less the first time. Stop it. It was market value at the time. Stop it.
Yeah, he did not have a good first few years.
By the way, speaking of maybe stopping it, Alex, do you want people to sort of slam on the brakes of Patrick Kane to Toronto?
Oh, I'm very glad we brought this up. Let's start with this. I don't care no offense. I love him. You know how much I love this guy. I don't care what Elliot Friedman has to say. It's August, baby. Like, okay, let's put it like this. They say it on the SDP all the time, and it's probably the thing I agree with most on that podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Every 31 GMs should be calling Kyle Davidson right now about Patrick Kane.
I don't
31. 31 teams. He is a top. He's okay. Patrick Kane is a top blank winger in the NHL. Insert a number.
Top 10. He's not top 5 anymore. But
he's a top 10 winger in the NHL. 31 teams should be calling about him.
See,
at least calling, not having discussions about a trade, calling. They wouldn't be doing their job. 31 teams should be calling about Jack Eichel. Calling, not having discussions, calling. There's a difference. I
don't get why you would want Patrick Kane on your team for the simple reason that the after the Kyle Beach stuff, to me, I don't want anything to do with him. Like,
okay, but
the Leafs,
that's not the NHL we live in.
I know.
That's
Well,
not the NHL we
so
live in. Like,
besides that, so that's just one thing I want to throw out there.
Sure.
But the hockey side of it, if I'm the Leafs too, and this is what I would throw in the span, I don't think they need Patrick Kane because I think Mitch Marner is basically your Patrick Kane. Like, I mean, you talk about like distributors in the league. I think Marner at this point, I'm not comparing peak performances, but right now I think Mitch Marner is better than Patrick Kane. And I think you would want a JT Miller type, which people have mentioned, or Petruzzi or something like that we know they're interested in. I just don't see a fit stylistically because I think they have Patrick Kane level in spades.
and I agree. I don't think they should trade for Patrick Kane, but the brouhaha that's come out about Patrick Kane is 31 teams should be, the point I'm making isn't that the Leafs should trade for Patrick Kane. I don't think they should, nor do they have the cap space to do so without making another move.
So I want to do some quick maths here. So 50% of Patrick Kane's deal right now would be $5.2 million. Mm-hmm. So let's say you would bring Arizona or a team in to do a double retention.
Sure.
That would have to bring it down to $2.625 million.
Yeah.
So instantly, stop me if you've heard this before, Alex Kerfoot goes the other way.
Bare minimum, Alex Kerfoot goes the other way. So
you're moving near $6 million to bring in Patrick, because no one's going to be able to bring a contender can't bring him in right now. So you're already before doing double retention, that's going to cost you more assets. You're going to have to send a significant contract, which Chicago are going to want more for in exchange anyway, or a significant player from your roster right now. I'm not saying Patrick Kane hockey on the ice wise is who knows what he's going to be like now. Again, he's a playmaker and his game isn't falling off nearly as much, but do you really want to give up what they're going to ask? Because again, the ask is going to be insane. Now, maybe
absolutely.
It's a Giroux type, and because Kane, I'm pretty sure off the top of my head without checking, probably has the team control, not to mention, I wonder if the Blackhawks and ownership have a certain level of loyalty to Patrick Kane where they do his wishes, and maybe you see a Claude Giroux return that's quite underwhelming. But, at least right now, from what we know, Patrick Kane probably wants to win, and that sort of lowers where he can get dealt even more.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I'm looking at Cap Friendly right now. There's very few teams there's no team contender right now that could straight up take Patrick Kane at $5.25 million. Now, there's teams out there who could probably send a guy back to make the cap work in that sense. There's actually a couple teams where I think it could work. First off, the New York Rangers, who, if I'm Chris Drury, that's the first call I'm making. Again, the Islanders potentially, I don't know if they're willing to give up what that is going to cost. And then this one you're going to absolutely hate, but they have the room to do it, is the Colorado Avalanche.
That is insane. They have that room.
$3.9 million in cap space right now. I'm sure they can say, sorry, I don't know, pick a player. Why don't we bring Patrick Kane over? Like, again, you're right. Like, you're spot on that it's gonna be a tough one to do. But to bring it back to the Leafs, because that's what I do best. Uh-huh. They're not going to trade for Patrick Kane. I'm sure they're on the phone with Kyle Davidson, as is every other GM at the moment, when there was the possibility that Patrick Kane was going to be on the market. It's not about, we're always like, that's my point. Like, I know I'm focusing on that one thing, but I think that's what's happening here. Like, how on earth are the Leafs going to bring in Patrick Kane?
Yeah, Sandine as part of it. A first Sandine, and then Kerfoot to make the money work. Probably
that's it. Like, you have to add so much more. I think you have to add so much more than that.
I feel like they'd ask for Matthew Knies. No.
Oh, great!
I'm sure
they will.
And I'm sure they will. But it's like, again, I think going to your point, Adam. Okay, great. Now we have and it's a great top 6, but does it fix anything?
And then you know what happens, by the way? The deal doesn't happen, and Kyle Davidson lets it leak out to the media again.
Probably.
Cal Dubas says something else again.
But yeah, it doesn't change what, Stanley Cup winner, tremendous playoff performer Patrick Kane, but, they don't need that player. They just don't need it.
They don't need it.
For me, it feels like too much of a good thing, if that makes sense, offensively.
Yeah, they don't need more scoring. God, no.
Yeah.
I just take it with a grain of salt when I'm told that the Leafs are in on somebody, because every time this happens, all it was they made the call, which I guarantee you 31 other GMs have done. I guarantee you Kelly McCrimmon was on the phone with Kyle Davidson asking about Patrick Kane, and they can't do anything.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you make a call, is that the same as checking or kicking the tires?
Oh,
yeah, that's it.
Yes, okay.
That's it.
By the way, shout out to, I'm just queuing up the next segment, and I think Japan beat Finland in the Worlds today. So that's
really
cool. Yeah, I think it's 1-0 could happen in the shootout, I believe happened. Good for them. I mentioned this because the Women's Worlds finals is today. It's going to be Canada, US for gold. Go Canada, obviously. I can't wait. I think we all know who's going to win. I don't have to ask. I know who's going to get the game winner. We all do. Certain French Canadian who works for the Montreal Canadiens, fun enough. And speaking of Montreal, PHF, Montreal Force. They're expanding. It's official. I like the uniforms, and I like the logo. The F into the fleur de lis. Happy about that.
And do you like the name?
Montreal Force? It's better than TMU Bold.
Okay, listen, man, that's a low bar. That's a low bar. You've set yourself.
It's a solid. I think Montreal Force is maybe a 6.5 out of 10. It's not awful, but I think it's fine. It doesn't make me angry.
Yeah, fair.
And I will root for them now because there's a Montreal team.
Let's go Falcons.
Yeah. If you just why'd you do Bold? Just make it the TMU Falcons or the TMU. It's just bad school.
I saw a tweet that said, "I can't wait to see the TMU Bold take on the Western Italics." And that cracked me up. That cracked me up.
Just not fun at all. Not fun at all. Something we want to mention. We want
Varsity Blues.
I'd like to say, by the way, before we get to Varsity Blues, homecoming for TMU September 15th. Hopefully it's free again.
Who are they playing?
I don't know. I don't even know if it's hockey or soccer or basketball.
And with that, so what we're going to quickly go look at now is just wishing our best to Alex Texier, who won't be playing in the NHL next year. Stuff going on there with Columbus. Seems like the guy's had a lot of stuff go on in his personal life. He's going back overseas to be closer to his family. Again, guy getting help, and seriously, just wish him the best. Because, I remember when he first came to the NHL, there was a lot of hype around the kid. He was really talented. So, best of wish to that guy. Like, really, really, like that. We're rooting for you, man. The same, like we've mentioned with Price when he went into the player assistance program. Bobby Ryan, of course, we talked with him a few weeks ago. Stuff like that. Just some quick signing stuff we can get into. We are running a little long here. It's gone by really quickly.
Yeah, wow. We're having fun.
Yeah, the New York Islanders have done some stuff.
What?
Yeah.
And that stuff begins with the fact that, first off, Noah Dobson and Alexander Romanov have been re-signed. They're both 3-year deals. $2.5 million for Alexander Romanov, 4 years for Noah Dobson. They will both still be RFAs at the end of those deals, by the way. It feels like a Lou move. Bridge deal, pay him at the end of it if they can afford to. Like what's going to happen with Barzal next summer.
Yeah, they did that with Pulak. They did that with, like you said, Barzal. You couldn't get more Lou.
No, you couldn't. And then he just sits there, and it's like you think Islanders fans look at JT Miller, and they're just like, God, we want anything.
I don't
Islanders
have
fans.
Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
No, I just think you think Islanders fans think about when he was a star, but Zach Parise's negotiations with Jersey with Lou before he left for Minnesota.
And they're just kind of like, God, don't repeat it, please. I wouldn't be surprised.
Have they have they signed anyone outside of the organization?
I think these outside the organization. I know they did some like minor league signings, but I don't hear. I can quickly.
Like,
I'll
I'm
get Lou
looking
Lamoriello's things and check like his cat
because
friendly signings.
yeah, because I feel like he hasn't.
He no, not the Rangers. I clicked the Islanders cat friendly. Where did they go? Why are you not working?
I
Where
don't know.
are the Islanders? There they are.
Oh, they had done
Islanders,
one or
Lou
two, three.
Lamoriello. Hold on. Let me set it up, Alex.
Okay,
This is
you
my
set
moment.
it up. You set it up.
Okay. Types. No, not entry level. Look into all signings. We'll just check. RFAs, Islanders. I don't care about the Devils. Why are you showing me Barzell? Why are you going 2 years ago? What's happening?
You gotta do it by signing date.
By signing date. Okay,
Yeah, it
I
doesn't by
can't.
value. Do you want me to do it?
I'm lost.
We have 3 guys they've signed outside the organization.
Okay.
Number 1, you might remember him from his time with the Seattle Kraken. Dennis Cholowski,
Oh,
Oh, okay. All right.
Detroit legend.
Detroit legend. You might remember this. Actually, he played on the Islanders last year, so this guy actually doesn't count. It was Paul Ledoux. Do you know who that is?
Why do I remember him?
Why do you remember him? Good
I
question.
remember that name.
And you might remember him from his combined 16 games over 2 seasons with the Arizona Coyotes. Hudson Fasching.
That's not real.
Oh, I remember him. He was like an NCAA guy.
Sure.
You couldn't sign Johan Larsson? He's going over. Where's Sammy Vatanen? Why hasn't he come back?
Where's Sammy Vatanen? Good question.
That's not great. By the way, Dobson deal, I like it. Romanov deal, thought it was pretty fair too for a bridge,
For sure.
But yeah, the Islanders kind of boring. Phil Kessel is a Vegas Golden Knight, and that just works, doesn't it? That just sort of makes sense.
Just kind of, yeah.
It hurts. It hurts. I won't lie.
Sorry, Alex.
I just not that I expected him to come back to Toronto, but I just needed, give me a reason to not to like Vegas a little bit.
Yeah, like Phil,
just
go to a team that we like. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I felt.
Like if he went to Carolina,
he didn't think of that.
If he went to Carolina, like we had been suggesting in the doc for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm mad about that.
Maybe
that made a lot of sense.
It did. It did make a lot of sense.
Pacioretty go there, and he took it personally. Then he went to Vegas,
and I would have been like, okay, I always have a fancy the Hurricanes for the last few years, anyways. I'm like, give me more of a reason to like him a little bit more.
One of us has to.
It's a solid deal. 1.5. Yeah. He's still really good player. I still think he put up with the 50s, like mid 60s.
He had 52 maybe. Points last year.
Yeah.
And he only scored 8 goals.
That's not bad, man.
He had 44 assists.
So you replace Pacioretty, who's probably when he's has been producing more, but he's been injured. And Kessel hasn't missed a game since we had color on TV.
Yeah. And Kessel's a playoff producer.
Exactly. You fraud. Oh God, that was good. That was good, Alex.
I like that.
Well done. Paul Stastny goes to Carolina though. Fine deal. They have had I really like their depth this offseason. Pacioretty, by the way, is going to miss like 6 months, which was kind of like, oh, okay.
So you're saying he's not going back to Winnipeg?
Stastny, no one's going
again.
No one's going to Winnipeg. Well, did they find? No, they didn't sign Svechnikov. Who did Winnipeg sign the other day? Sam Gagner.
Yeah.
Why?
Marley's legend.
Who cares?
Toronto Marley's legend.
I'm happy he has a job, but Winnipeg?
Remember when he put up like top 6 numbers because he was always on the power play unit?
He's a good player, man.
Columbus.
He's had a quiet, fine player career. It's just, just Winnipeg, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay, we got 2 things to finish off before we go to the draft. Sorry, not the draft video that Montreal put up.
Yeah.
Yay.
Oh my God.
Okay, I just want to put something out here. Of the 3 of us, I am very confident in saying I am the biggest gamer. I'm very confident in saying that.
But
Right?
there's one exception to that though, right? Like
NHL.
you absolutely hate NHL. The only reason you play it is to play with Mike and I.
Yeah, no, it's to spend time with my friends is the only reason I play NHL. And the way our games go sometimes, I like some of my friends a little less after we play. Because sometimes Mike is a very questionable teammate. Is what I'll say.
Listen, I got 2 quitters on my team.
You listen, it happens. Mike quits more than I do.
That's true. But we
Listen,
got a top
I'm
tier.
the starting goalie now. Exactly. All right, things are going to change.
We got a top tier goalie. We're chilling.
So listen. Let me just. I mentioned this because listen, I've played a lot of video games in my life. I'm a member of many gaming communities. This is how I'll put this. All right, listen. Halo. Love Halo. I play a lot of Halo. Play a lot of Pokemon. Love me some Pokemon. There is no fan base, or maybe no sort of group of gamers that care more about covers than sports fans. I have never once in my life decided to buy a game based on a cover or not. However, there is no group of gamers that will make a bigger deal of a cover than sports fans. Okay, listen. You guys don't know this. I think you may know this. The first game that was my game, like not from my brother that I stole, was the original Pokemon Diamond, which came out in like 2008, 2009, maybe 2007. Last year they remade it for the Switch, right? The cover sucked. Like it was a bad cover, right? It looked kind of lazy. Guess what? It sold over 12 million copies, and I play it nearly every other day. Okay, I love it. Not a great game. The remake is kind of lazy, to be honest with you, but it's Pokemon and it looks nice. Okay? I still play it though. You know what I mean? I enjoy it because it's good gameplay, unlike NHL. But I just want to say, there are 2 things can be true here. Covers don't matter, and the new cover is kind of bad. Listen, Sarah Nurse and Trevor Zegras, I like the idea. It's kind of weird not having one NHL player and one non-NHL player. It's kind of weird, but obviously they started including women in the game last year. I like it. We've talked about on the podcast. Sarah Nurse has become the face of women's hockey. Again, you go to a Froze, you see chicken wings, her face is on it. People like Sarah Nurse. I like Sarah Nurse. The cover, though, looks like a magazine shoot and not the cover of a video game. It's just my general thing of it. I don't care about the cover. We're going to talk about it because it's kind of what you do in the hockey podcast. It's a bad looking cover because I don't think there's any equipment. I think they have a stick, maybe. That's it. The gameplay is going to suck. We're going to talk about the gameplay trailer and that. I just want to say, cover's got a nice idea. Jay Fresh said this. Good idea. Crap execution. I like having Sarah Nurse on it. All right, fair enough. But just before you put all this effort into a cover, have a playable game is all I'm going to ask of you. Okay?
Okay.
You guys can go ahead now. I just needed to sort of vent a little bit there.
I mean, you said everything. It's just, I have no issue with, like, again, good idea, bad execution. I feel like that just screams EA, especially when it comes to their NHL games. Good idea, bad execution. We're now getting how will we still not have GM connected? Can I ask?
So, not even that, Alex. Did you guys watch the sort of reveal gameplay trailer yet?
I watched it, yeah.
So, for those of you who haven't, one of the big features, they were like, we have 2 new strategies. One of them is the 1-3-1 power play setup. The one that good teams run nowadays. The fame Tampa is the best example of that. That power. All right, EA heard us talking bad and they decided to go after Alex's internet. Anyway, but it's like visual glitches in your reveal trailer and your gameplay trailer. It's just so disappointing, but it continues to be so expected at the same time. Like, come on. Like, again, I mentioned Halo. Halo Infinite's a game with a lot of problems. The core gameplay is fantastic. EA is just sort of like, they just can't get the foundation right.
I've had enough. Like, I don't want to buy the game. I don't.
Well, but will you guys buy the game?
If it's $10, if it's extremely reduced price, call me. I'll think about it. But other than that, I barely turn on my Xbox to begin with.
Busy guy.
Black Friday is when I'll buy it. Black
Yeah,
Friday.
I remember always thinking about that after the Canadian Thanksgiving and American Thanksgiving. I always think that's the best time to buy a sports game.
Hey guys, our game is partially crossplay now. Great. I'm so happy for you. You've done such a great job, guys. I'm so happy. X Factors work more now. I don't care. It took you 4 years to fix the poke check, and apparently now they don't work at all. By the way, I signed up for the open beta. I didn't get my code. Thanks. One time I'm like, I'll give him a try. No news on Be It Pro. No news on franchise mode. You know, if you're like in Halo, there's a term of theirs, you know, you're sort of social players and competitive players, right? You know, competitive are the ones who play ranked and all that. Then your sort of social players are the ones who just kind of play for fun. I play Pokemon and that religiously, but I'm a social player. You know what I mean? I like playing for fun. EA have taken away and have not provided a social, casual playthrough. I'm not saying social as in, hey, I'm going to play with people. That's completely different. That's just multiplayer in general. But just a sort of fun, social, just fun. There's no fun. No, it's just no fun. I don't enjoy playing it. When the guys, when we text each other and we're like, let's play. I'm like, I agree, because it's like, as Alex said, I want to play with my friends.
The community, yes.
But it just, not the community. Yeah, you don't play NHL with people who aren't your friends because they call you losers on the mic. If you don't win a face-off for like 3 straight attempts, then they just call on the mic, and it's an angry kid or like some 40-year-old who's like, we win face-off, and it's like, get a life. That's why I don't play ESHL unless it's with Alex and Mike, because the last time I played like 3 years ago, I was a centerman. I wasn't winning faceoffs, and this angry man just came on the mic, and I'm just like, I think I just went on like, go kiss a girl, and then I left the game.
Things haven't changed in 3 years. When you don't win faceoffs, you still get an angry man yelling
in the game and in the microphone.
No, on our FaceTime calls.
That's also true. Yeah, it's still because Mike. It took me a while to get that joke. I'm just disappointed. I'm just continuing to be disappointed.
The play. It's coming.
The play will work. We win the play, and then Mike just stops playing. Goes the other way, scores. He said, "What the hell, guy? What do you think, Mike?" And he sends a message to the opponent, and he gets banned, and he still wants to be the captain. No, Mike, not a good example for the team.
Just so frustrated.
Anyway, my throat's killing me. I have been sick for 2 weeks straight, and I kind of hate it. We gotta talk about one more thing, actually.
Okay. Yep.
So the Habs put out a video, basically going behind the scenes of some of like the stuff going up to the draft, some of the stuff about picking Slavkovsky, talking about some of the other guys they drafted and all that. What do you guys think of the video? Because I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, it was a interesting video. Again, this is the content we need. You know how we all complain about how the NHL is not great at putting out content because teams don't really like to share state secrets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you just try a little bit, it does you wonders.
I want to check something. Because last I checked, I think it had over like 100,000 views, which for YouTube isn't amazing. But for like just thinking about some hockey stuff and stuff Montreal have on their YouTube channel, I'm pretty sure that's actually so it's up to 170,000 views. So if you put that into their most viewed videos, besides some of their like fun behind the scenes stuff, it's pretty like it's up there. Besides like some like weird house tour stuff, Carey Price funny moments, Mark Bergevin at the phone at the 2019 draft, which I think that may have been the video they had to edit because it had their draft list leaked. But there's interest. Like what I'm interested is they were talking about Lane Hudson and people were sort of talking about, if he's available at the 3rd round, that's great value. And they got him in the 2nd. So I want to know who pitched for him, and just what. My big takeaway as a Habs fan was I can see more of their logic in picking Slavkovsky. I'm still not 100% set on the pick. And I really like Chris Boucher. I saw Patrick tweeting the same thing. Really like Chris Boucher.
Chris Boucher.
Really like him.
The basketball player?
No, Chris Boucher, who's the head of the Habs
Sorry.
analytics.
Sorry.
Yeah, I got confused there.
I think Daniel made that same joke when we first talked about the hire. But no, I really thought it was interesting. And I'm not surprised they didn't show any interviews with like Shane Wright because that makes a lot of sense.
Because
well, we can't find out why he's bad.
Yeah.
it's okay.
Attitude problems. But yeah, that was an interesting video. Do more in the future. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think more NHL teams should do that. That's the
Yeah.
content people want, especially when like you're trying to figure out, how to grow as a league.
Yeah.
When you're a little behind the others, you need the content. The content is important.
And there you go, my friends. That's everything I think for today.
Yeah. Good episode.
Yeah.
Nice and tidy.
Yeah, very
A lot
clean.
of laughs.
Other than
Loved
EA
it.
cutting the cord.
Exactly. They called Rogers because they got the national rights for the games, and they said cut it
There's
out.
like a bar of a percentage of criticism they can take on
Yeah.
media, and like, all right, that's it.
And then so they contacted Rogers, and they're like, Alex, yeah, we know him. We cut his the TV time of his things back like 30 seconds of that. Yeah, he's on the list. We gotta cut him down.
It's ridiculous. I don't even want to watch games this year with anybody because I can't even go on Twitter and watch game at the same time because it's just gonna get spoiled for me. Like it's ridiculous.
Elliot, when there's overtime on, you cannot look at Elliot Freeman's Twitter.
Like I want to run through a wall.
It's okay.
Like that's how mad I get.
Okay. Check us out on TikTok, Facebook if you're older and you prefer that. YouTube for the video portion. Yeah. There's a lot there, but my throat's hurting.
That pretty
Thank
much
you for
summed it up.
listening. And next time we see you, I don't know. Maybe Kirby Doc and Rasmus Sandin will be signed. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys.